What you do after you put your spool on, is you come through the extended wire first, right? Then through the small hook wire. Once through that, you go underneath the tension disc and over the top. Tighten this back up. Tension disc and over top of the first roller. Loosen your thumb nut. Come down over the bottom roller in the wax spot and back over the top. Okay? Now, if you're getting too much lax coming down, you take it off the first roller on the bottom, and you always twist toward the operator. Once, twice. Get back over. Close it back down and lock it. Now, this is the extension on your wax pot here. That's right here. This piece here, right? Now, from the front of the machine, you come straight up until you get to that area. Go straight through and grab your thread. Pull it through. Okay? Now, right here, this is your lock. This does all your locking right here. This is the most critical area of your threading. Okay? That's located, let me move this out the way. That's located right here. This piece right there. Now, you have a hole on the top of that, and you have a hole on the bottom. You want to go through the top hole first. Hook your thread. And pull to the front. Okay? Now you have to go through the bottom hole. But before you go through the bottom hole, you have to go through, you have a tension spring, and you have a roller on the bottom of that tension spring. Now this is your tension spring right here. It's shaped like a banana shape. Right? Now on that spring, you have a roller. Now when you come up, the idea is when you put your threading wire through, you want to be behind that roller, not in front. Okay? Now to see the roller, you can bring it this way. And that's your roller. Okay? Now,
point that out again.
This is the roller right here.
Okay.
All right? Now, this is your take-up. Okay? Now, in order to thread the machine, the take-up should be in the lowest point. You should be able to see it here. Be at your lowest point. Now, when you have it at your lowest point, you take your threading wire and you come from the back. You go straight up. Make sure you're in between the spring and the metal piece, the metal base, all right? You go straight up behind the roller. Take your finger, you push your lock forward and go straight up through the hole, all three pieces. All right? Hook your thread. and you pull straight down. Okay? Now, this is the most critical. You can come over this way. You can't see it. Take notice over here, you pulled your thread in front of this roll. Right? And it's showing you here that it has to be put behind it. That's what does all your locking. If you're in front, it won't lock. You leave loops. All right? So you'll hold your thread taut, and you'll come in from the front, and you take a threading wire and flip it. Flip it behind it. You might want to help it a little here. All right? And that's the way it should be. Straight through. Okay? Now, after you've threaded it like that, the next thing you want to do is you want to put your thread through your thread guide. This here is your thread guide. It's got a hole in the tip of it. Okay? All right? You always take your thread to the left of the thread guide. And pull through. Once you put it through, then you give it a little pull to make sure everything is free. Then you lift your foot. Lift your foot, put your thread under your foot, and hold it to the back. Now if you want, you can stop that for. Okay, after you thread the top, put your bobbin in. You got 3 pieces. You got a spring, bobbin, and bobbin cover. Okay, first thing goes in is your spring. The springs, the prong should be facing toward the bobbin. All right, so it will be to your right, the operator's right. You see, you'll see the little, some are, one is bent up, every other one is bent up. That goes in first. That goes in first. Then your bobbin goes in. Your bobbin shouldn't be wiry. It shouldn't be, really tight. It should just have a nice smooth flow up. When you put it in with the bobbin pulling from your bottom. In other words, when you pull the thread, the bobbin will go clockwise. Then you got your bobbin covered. Then you close your door. When you close your door, you leave your thread, some thread extended between your spring and the latch. And you should make 1 stitch to pick up your bobbin. You hold the thread to the back and let it drag out your hand. Lift your foot and pull your thread up. Now, when you pull your thread out, you see your take-up and everything is still in a high point, so it has the thread tight. Whenever your take-up is up, your thread is locked. So you got to back off and to get into a position where you want to start where the oiler come first. Right? As you're backing off, you pull on your threads because you might have some still stuck up in your spring. And your first stitch will be loose if you leave some stuck. So once you've pulled it out, put it both underneath the foot, pull out some again, and you're ready to start working. Okay? Now, what I would like to do is I would like him or, to thread it himself and put the bobbins and stuff in. So this way he can, has a little knack of it. All right? Now, okay. Now that you're ready to sew, okay, we won't sew now, but I'll show you some fine tunings that you might have to have. All right? Now, you have to have enough tension on top of your work in order to keep your work from pulling out, all right? Is this scrap over here?
Yeah.
Now, that's a little too loose. Okay, this is okay. Now, if you pull hard, you should pull it out. But if you give it, a slight tug, it shouldn't come out. All right? Now, what's that for? Is that when the hook catches your thread, it's pulling it forward. If you don't have enough tension, your work will jump forward, and then you'll get small stitches. You don't want that. All right? So if you need more pressure on your work, the pressure is right here. You just loosen your nut, and you just tighten down on your spring. Then lock your nut back. That's all your foot pressure on your work. Okay? Now, also when you're working, you have to make sure that your foot lifts high enough to feed, where your worker feed without dragging underneath the bottom of the foot. Now, if you're dragging underneath the bottom of the foot, you're going to get small stitches. You might even have it cutting right through the leather. In other words, it's not giving the proper feed. All right? So now, if you want to raise your foot up, you just barely enough for it to clear. Make the whole feed with the needle. The foot should be off the work. When the needle starts dropping, then the foot should come down. Okay? Now, if you don't have enough height on your foot, this is your adjustment for your foot on how high it should lift. This is the adjustment right here. All right? Now, now, if you want to lift it higher, you will leave it in a straight up and down position. Right? You will loosen the inside screw and you tighten the outside screw. That'll give you more lift. All right? Now, when you tighten in on this outside screw, you'll see this piece right here. It'll move in some. This is what comes and hits underneath here to lift your foot. Okay? Now, if it's lifting too high, you'll bring it in this position. Right? And you can see it from here. When you loosen the bottom screw, it'll drop down. And if then you tighten in on this one, right? And then you tighten them both back to make sure that they're not loose. Right? That's how high your foot is going to lift, right, off your work. Now, on wear, the way you can tell if your foot, there's something worn in your foot lifter or something like that, it's right in here. All right? This whole mechanism lifts your foot. Now you got a 127 here and a 122 right here. Okay? At the tip of the 122, and you'll be at the bottom of the 127. They should be about 1/4 inch away from each other. If you'll notice, right in here, it's about 1/4 inch. Can you see that?
Yeah, I've got it.
Okay? That should be 1/4 inch from the bottom of that 127. Now, as it wears, you would adjust this accordingly. You would give yourself, more lift. Because when it wears, you're going to start getting less lift, so you have to give yourself a little more. All right? Now, also, you want your thread to be regulated in your work, your lock. Okay? Now, your lock should lay in the bottom portion of your work. If you got 2 pieces of leather, it shouldn't be in the middle, because then you're not locking. You see, it has to be in the leather itself to be locked. Okay? Now, if you should happen to see your lock on top of your work, all right? Right here, you would bring your take up to the highest point. And you'll come directly in here from the back. And you'll see an offset bolt that holds a brass piece onto a plate here. Okay? Now, directly in back of that bolt, at the end of that bolt, there's 2 nuts around the back here. If you loosen these nuts and put your wrench on this head here, you turn it. It's an offset head. You turn it until it starts to drop down. That's if it's showing on the top of your work. You'll turn it until it starts to drop down. Now this will go all the way down, and if you keep turning, it'll start to come back up again. All right. Now, if it's showing on the bottom of your work, you want to turn it and bring the brass piece up. All right? You do it a little bit at a time, maybe about a 1/16 of an inch at each time, you know, because if you bring it too much, then you'll run into other problems, okay? Now, what you should do first, before you even set your lock, make sure that you have a drag on your top tension. And this is your tension for your top thread up on your wax spot, all right? Just this, you want a slight drag. In your bobbin, you want the same thing from your bobbin. You want a slight drag, okay? Now, if you're not getting a slight drag, this is your adjustment for the tension on your bobbin. It's the lower screw with the nut, okay? The upper screw with the nut is for in the future, like when you get wear, your cover might pop a little bit. So you'll tighten this one in so it won't pop as much. But for right now and for maybe the next 3, 4, 5 years, you only use this one. Okay, depending on how much work you put into the machine and how it wears. All right? And that's your bobbin tension. Okay? And once you have a slight drag on your top tension, a slight drag on your bobbin tension, then your lock is regulated with this offset bolt back here. No? Okay. Now, if you're sewing light work and and then you're going to switch over later on to heavy work, you might just want to fine tune it just a little bit because the stitch on the bottom just might be slightly tighter than it was on the small stuff. Okay? So what you would do for this is the same thing. That means when it's real tight on the bottom and it's nice on the top, that means you're not getting enough thread to make your stitch. When you want to get enough thread more thread to make your stitch, the same bolt. So regulate your lock, the same bolt to use. If you want more thread, you'll drop it down. If you want less, you lift it up. Okay? Now, skipping. Now there's 2 things, maybe really 3 things can make you skip, okay? First thing you check is see how this thread guide lays it into the needle. It should come into the needle below the barb of the needle. Don't touch the needle, go around the needle without touching it, okay? The second thing, if that's okay, the second thing you want to check is make sure that your needle is right down the center of your hook. Right down the center of this hook right here. Now, if it's not down the center, first thing you do is you change your needle because the needle might be bent. If your needle is not bent and the shuttle is still off, you have 2 screws, one on each side of your shuttle casing. Okay, one here and one directly in back of it. You can loosen these 2 screws and you can slide your shuttle in or out according to wherever the needle is. All right? And then that should eliminate your skipping. Now, make sure also that when you put your needle in, the hook of the needle is directly straight at the operator. If you slightly turn this way or that way, you can cause skipping or breaking. Okay? Because the needle might hold on too long to the thread or something like that. All right? Now, as far as holding on too long, the needle holding on too long in your thread, if your needle holds the thread too long, that means that your shuttle is too late. All right? Now, if your shuttle is too late, you have one gear in here to adjust your shuttle, just your shuttle alone. Might get lower things here for that. This big gray gear is just your shuttle. Now, you have 2 screws, they sit on one flat. It's like on a pivoting motion. If you loosen your bottom screw and you tighten your top screw, it's going to bring this hook, it'll bring it forward. Make it a little faster. If you loosen the top and tighten the bottom, it'll back your hook up. And it'll only move your hook. It won't move anything else. All right? That's if your needle is holding thread too long, or if the hook is grabbing the thread off the needle and just taking it off the tip. Then you might want to retard the shuttle a little bit so the needle will hold the thread a little longer. See? You can get skipping from that too. If it gets on the tip, it might just come off and then spring off. You see, and the next one might catch or whatever, you know. So you want it about halfway. You want it to release the thread off the needle about halfway on your shuttle, the hook. About halfway, that's good. Then you don't have that problem of it bouncing off or something like that. Now, lining of your needle and your awl. They should be, perfectly in line. All right? The needle shouldn't favor, the awl should be 1 to 1.5 sizes over the needle. All right? It should be right down the center of the hole that the awl makes. Okay? Now, this is a period of time after wear. To adjust, I'm just going to take off this cover right here now. This is just a guide, so you don't catch your hands and stuff like that down in it. All right, along the bottom of the machine, you have 3 bolts. And to the right of the machine, you have 3 bolts directly in line with these 3 in the front. Okay? Now, what's that? That's for adjusting your needle from left to right. All right? Now, when you adjust your needle from left to right, which is only going to be very little, whenever you adjust it, you only use these first 2 bolts. You never touch this one at all. See? Now, these first 2 bolts, they're connected to these 2 rockers right here, which moves your whole needle case. All right? Now, if you have to move the needle to the left, if you loosen this 1/8 of a turn, you have to do the same here. And then you just come straight in with the other screws that are directly in line with it, right? Then you lock them. Okay? Now, you don't want, like I said, you don't want this to cock. Now, but when you move this needle, your whole needle casing, you have to readjust your shuttle. Because then if you move it out, it won't be down the center of the hook. So then, like I said, these 2 screws, loosen them, slide them out. Slide it in. Either way, you have to go. And then make sure that they're locked again. Okay? All right. Now, sometimes you can be sewing along and your thread will jump inside your bobbin and might just bust right off, all right? Now, when that happens, it's 1 or 2 things. You don't have enough tension on your bobbin, right? It might be just too loose, or you're not getting enough thread to make the stitch, which I told you about this thread, giving you enough thread to make the stitches with this bolt right back here again. That regulates your lock. If it's just a tension here, you just give it a little tension, and that's it, and everything will be fine. But you can tell, really, when it breaks, if it breaks in your bobbin, it'll break all the way up here. Every time. It'll bust right up here by your lock.
We've been having that was one of our basic
problems. And it busted there all the time, right? Jumping inside the bobbin, and you left a long end, real long end on the bottom. I think it was because of this thing. Because it was holding it up in the air. All right? Now, I want to show you how to change this needle. I just had the needle all. Okay, when you put your awl in, you got 2 screws, and you have a hole here. That your awl should bottom out. Okay. So when you put it in, and you can either have your awl straight or you can have it at an angle, depending on what kind of stitch you want. If you put it on an angle, the stitch will be on an angle. Right? Now, that hole is to make sure that you have it all the way up. Then you'll lock it. Now, on your needle, same principle. You have a hole here also. And you put your needle in. Like I said, the hook of the needle should be directly at the operator, not twisted to either side. And you make sure that that bottoms out. And as I said, you can see it through the hole. You'll see the bottom over here. Now, you want to make sure that when your needle comes into your work, you don't have any play in it, okay? This is later on. You don't want to have any play because then it might deflect off, see? Same thing with your awl when it comes down. You don't want, you can have a little, but not too much, you know, not real sloppy, all right? If you have...
That comes from where?
Huh? That comes from running. Just remember, see, you have a gib, an adjusting gib, you see? So if you get your play, right here you have a screw to adjust the gib on the awl bar, take out the play. Same thing in your foot. If you get play in your foot, now this has too much play. Right back here you have a screw to adjust the gib. Take that play out. Right? Now on your needle, you have the same thing. You have two of them. When it's down, when the needle is down, you do it here, in the bottom screw. When it's up, you do it here, the top screw. Very little at a time because you don't want to give it too much, cock it, you know, too much at one time. Right? Now, as far as your stitch adjustment, this is your stitch adjustment right here, right in front of you.
Length?
Yeah, the length of your stitch. All right? If you got a bolt with a nut on the end. If you loosen your nut, all the way down is the biggest stitch you're going to get. As you come up, the smaller it'll get. Okay? You should get 4 stitches to the inch is standard on this machine. Some machines get a little more, but really you don't want more, you know, I mean a bigger stitch. Some of them get 3, 3.5. You don't want that for what you're doing because there's really no support.
What's the maximum?
11, 12 stitches to the inch. That's real fine. You know, that's like for the horses, the little things they put across here, like that. Now, there's variation in size of needle. Needle size is by your thread. Then your awl goes by your needle size. If your thread, like, okay, you don't know what size this thread is, right?
I believe that's a 6.
A 6 cord?
I believe.
Okay, 6 cord you can use a 3 needle, 4 needle. All right? But then you all, like I said, 1 to 1 size over with your awl. All right? Mostly people use the chisel point, just like what you're using. Right? It's just straight across the bottom. Now, the feet of your needle, which is something important too. The feet of your needle is in relation to your foot. Okay? Now, when your needle comes up, the needle should come up. You know, that's no good. The needle should come up, slightly start to feed back. The foot should lift, feed all the way back, and then drop. Then the foot should drop with the needle. Right now it's a little off, so I gotta make the adjustment here. Your adjustment, if you lift up your stitch regulator, you'll see this cam. This Maybe you might get low. Can you see it? This cam here is the feed of your needle. That's all it does. It's the feed of your needle. Now, I'm going to make an adjustment here now. If I want to make an adjustment, you got a cam on the end of that shaft. All right? The cam is at the highest point. The hole on the cam is at the top. Okay? So it comes directly from the bottom. Somebody tried to move this because this is loose. All right, you loosen that first screw.
I don't know if I can get that or not. Can you see down in there?
You should be able to see from here.
Oh, okay, I see now. It's a little dark in there.
You loosen this first screw. All right? Once you've got that loose, you go halfway back, and you got the other screw. Loosen that. All right? Now, holding the cam, being that the needle is too fast right now, you hold the cam and you turn the wheel forward. You see nothing else will move but that. All right, the lock one, what I do here now. Well, this whole thing is moving. Yeah. Check it.
And what are you checking for?
See the feed of the needle. Yeah, put this all in. Just to put this back down so you can see the proper feed of it. All right, let me see if it's right now. Still a little too fast. Loosen that one screw and bring it forward some more. Okay, now that's better. You can take a look how it's feeding here. The needle comes up, just starts to feed back, then as it's feeding, foot lifts, it goes all the way back, the foot is still up, starts to come down, then the foot comes down. See? Now, you can tell if your feed is out because your stitches will start getting smaller. If you've been sewing along and you've been getting, nice big stitches and all of a sudden they start getting smaller, that feed went out somewhere. It shouldn't go out, you understand, unless, the screw is left loose or it's jarred and, like that. But it shouldn't go out. Now, once you've got it set, you make sure that's like I did before. You see how I pull that front cam out?
Wait just a second. I think I missed that.
Once you've loosened the cam up and you're getting ready to tighten it back again, you make sure you pull that front cam out. Then you take the feed cam and push it back. So this way you won't have play from side to side. Okay. Once you've got the front cam pulled away and the feed cam pushed up against the bearing, then you'll come back and you'll lock it. Lock the other one. Okay. Now, another thing I want to tell you, after you've been working this machine, a little while, say about a month or so, right, of actual work. First thing I tell all the people, or go back over the machine. Any screws, like on the gears and stuff, tighten them. Because, it seats itself after a while. And so you tighten it up, this way they won't come loose. You see, because once it seats itself, it might get a little loose. So you'll go back over and you tighten it up. All this stuff in here you don't have to tighten up, but just the gears so they won't slip. Everything. All right? Now, I showed you all this here. Now, timing. That's another thing that you got to get right. Now, the machine can go out of time It depends really on the operator, okay? Now, if the operator, as long as that operator lets that all come first, then the needle follow, it should sew fine. Make sure that the long ends of threads, when they first start, clip them off so they don't drop down inside. Because if you get it caught in here, it's going to jam the machine up, and you're not going to be able to turn it. You see? Maybe you might, but you know, the only way you can break it out. Now, a lot of people, what they try to do is they try to take all this loose. You shouldn't have to do that. Okay? The way I do it, and I find it's pretty easy, and the machine 9 times out of 10 don't go out of time. It won't go out of time. Okay? You get yourself a heavier screwdriver than this, really. Okay? You're going to need somebody to help you. Like I said again, he might not, but you're going to need somebody to help you. You put your screwdriver in here right at the gear that drives your shuttle, because you want to have that pressure directly where it's stuck, okay?
Not on the teeth itself.
Yes, one tooth at a time.
Oh, okay.
You use your stitch adjustment as your leverage, and one tooth at a time. As you pry one tooth, you have somebody here turn this wheel. This way you get pressure on both spots, all right? But if you try here, you won't get nothing. But if you try here by yourself, you won't get anything. So you got to have someone here and here. And you can actually, one tooth at a time, and you'll break that thread right out where you can just pull it right out. You see? And then
that's if the thread, if you have too much and it gets back underneath.
Well, if you got like threads hanging or something like that, and it jumps inside, or hanging off the leather or something like that, where you've stitched already and then you're stitching another way or something like that, that can happen. You see? Now, if the machine should go out of time, you'll know it right away. Because first of all, this looper here, it'll stop feeding into that needle properly. It'll either be too fast or it'll be too late. Because see, all this here is set in a track, and it's set on this whole shaft. So if your machine is in time and this is going properly and it's not loose, you know, because you got a screw here that, you know, you can tighten it up or adjust it either way you want. But if it's not loose, then you know it's out of time. Because if it's loose in here, then you can say, well, it's just a screw here. I can tighten it back, set it back, okay? But now, if you want to set it back, okay, you loosen that screw, you can either move this up, you can move it down, this way or that way. But like I said, it always has to feed into the needle, below the bob of the needle, around the needle without touching, okay? And you can set that according with this screw here. Now, also, for changing this piece here, which they wear a lot, it's the same screw directly in back of it. There's another one right here. Matter of fact, if you come from the bottom, you see it better. Okay. And if you start finding things loose somewhere and you're having problems, the first thing you do is you tighten those areas up. You see, because all in this area here, there shouldn't be nothing really loose when it's dealing with the thread. You know, because that can cause you problems. Now, if you got a machine, like a lot of people have machines that are worn, and they call me up and say, I'm skipping and I'm breaking, and I don't know what to do. And it's hard for me to tell you. Because when it's like that, if it's new, then it's easy, you see. If it's new and you get a problem, I can help you on the phone. But if you got an old machine and you haven't taken care of it, then I don't know what you did and I don't know what's going wrong, you know. But if something like this, 9 times out of 10 on the phone, I help you. All right? Now, if it does go out, the way I time the machine is with this gear right here, okay? Now, a lot of people use this gear, but this gear only has one tooth adjustment on the bottom. What this gear does, it moves your needle up or down. Now, when your machine goes out of time, that's what's going to happen. Your needle's either going to be dropped or it's going to be up too high, okay? So you can adjust your needle by this, but the best thing I say is to go and time the machine all over. Don't even worry about this. Because sometimes once you lose that one tooth adjustment and it's out of time, you still got to go back here anyway, so it's best to just start from scratch. Now, when you take it loose, you have to time it. I'll show you how to time it.
What are you taking loose now?
This is the top gear off the top shaft and just disengage it.
This is the beginning of the timing of the machine.
Yes, yes. Really put these screws on. All right. Now what I did is I slid there's only one gear on this top shaft. All right. I slid it away from the other gear. All right? Now all I have turning now is just the top. Okay? Nothing else is turning. Now what I do here, see in the back of the shaft you have a little cutout on your shaft for a screwdriver. Well, being you got your guard here, you won't use that. All right? And what I do is on this gear that adjusts the shuttle, take me a screwdriver and I work lightly against the teeth. All right? Well, I work it until the needle, maybe you want to get it on here. I work it until the needle is on its way up. All right? When it's about a 16th to an 1/8 of an inch underneath your plate, right about there. All right? You set your needle there for your time. Now, then you come to your top. And on this here, you watch your take-up. All right? You turn your wheel until your take-up is at the highest point. There's a little spot there just before it drops that you have a little, see, you can turn the wheel a little bit and it won't move. All right? Once you've got those two set, then what you want to do is you want to come up to your shaft and you want to find your flats on your shaft. So you find your flat on the shaft, right? Then you take your gear and you line the two screws up with the flat. Once you got them lined up, both flats, because you got two flats at 90 degrees to each other, you slide it right in. And then you tighten it. Now when you're tightening the screw up, you gotta watch your wheel. If your wheel moves, you're not properly on the flat. Okay? If it stays, then you're okay. So you tighten up and watch the wheel. That should be pretty good. Turn it over, you get to the other screw.
If one's properly on there, the other one should be.
Mm-hmm. When you line them up first, you know, you find out where they both are, and just slide it in. The screw's in the area. Now, let's see. Okay. What I'm going to do, after you do that, then what you do is you'll turn the take-up back to the highest point just before it drops, and then you check and see where your needle is. Okay, that's not bad. That's not bad. Okay, now you see it's a little lower than what it was. All right. So now I'm going to drop this down so it feed, drop my thread guide.
So where are you wanting that guide?
I want it just below that barb.
Just below
Just below the barb. See, I was up here, see, and that's no good. Because then what'll happen is your thread will probably throw the thread in, it'll probably throw the thread in, but it might leave a couple of strands onto the hook. And you don't want that. You want it all thrown underneath. So what you do, you bring it down under the barb of it, like that. You tighten it up. Then you check it, see how it's feeding in. It's going in nice, not touching. Going around, that's good. Now, some gears are grinding somewhere.
Huh?
These gears are grinding somewhere. Gears too tight somewhere. I think I've got one gear meshing too tight. Here.
One of ours sounds like that. The one we got sounds like that.
What? Noisy like that? Probably in the gear. How long you had your machine?
Long time, long time.
Well, you could have some bent shafts in there too. That'll do it. What I'm gonna do here is, I think I have these two gears meshing a little too hard, so I just taking a hair off. Now, between these two gears here, I always give it a little play, you know? And this gear here, I don't want play at all, because this is all your timing is in here.
So you're going to do what? That's got a little play in it?
Yeah, no, it don't. It's in too hard. I have it meshing too hard, so I'm just going to
You mean
take it back
two
just
gears are too tight?
Yeah, so I'm just going to
So
take it
you're
right
going to
just
back
a
off
hair.
on the inside here a little
Right,
bit.
just a hair.
Just a hair.
Might have to return this.
Just loosening the screw. Yeah, further right. You should be one with one main adjustment.
See, you know what it is with this machine? They have to have, the reason why they have so many gears in this machine, okay, like there's got like the Campbell machine, okay? I don't know if you're familiar with that, but that has cams, all right? And the reason why is because it goes so slow that if it jams, nothing's going to happen. This machine is geared to go 800 stitches a minute. You see, that's the original, right? 800 stitches a minute. At 800 stitches a minute, if you jam something, you want something to slip. Because if it don't, it'll bust. You know, so that's why they have the gears on this instead of cams. You know? That sounds a little better now. Okay. Now, okay, I showed you the lineup. I showed you the timing. I showed you the lineup on the needle from left to right. Right? The needle can also go out front to back. Okay? If it goes out front to back, that screw that third bolt that I told you don't touch, okay? You go directly 90 degrees in the corner of the casting, right? From that screw. There's a hole, okay? Right in that hole, you got a screw. Fits right on your feed yoke. This is your whole feed yoke here, right? What you would do, you'll loosen that screw, and if you'll take notice on the end of that rocker there, it looks like a nut is on the end of it, right? And what you do is if you put your wrench on the end of that nut, once you got it loose, okay? If you turn the wrench away from you, the needle's going to come forward, towards you. If you bring the wrench towards you, the needle will go back. And then you
Loosen that screw.
loosen this screw first. And then make sure after you've set it, you make sure you lock this screw back.
You want it totally
directly in line with that awl. Okay?
The awl and the needle should be perfectly vertical.
Right. Right. Because the awl is just one track, so everything lines up really to the top of the machine.
And your thread guides lined up in a little cutout place in the needle.
Mhm.
Right?
All right, now you bob. I want to show you bob.
That's hot. Don't let it. Okay, on the bobbin winder.
Okay, when you wind your bobbin, first same thing with your thread up here. You always leave the label up. Okay. You go through your extended wire. And this small hook wire here. Now, this is a little different from these up here. On this one here, you'll come one time and then back over. In other words, you just go around it, the disc, once.
Do that again.
Okay? In other words, you'll come over the top and then back over the top. So you make a complete circle over. All right, now with my threading wire. You come right through the pot with your threading wire all the way to the end. Okay. Hook your thread. Pull through. Now what these nuts are for here is if you're getting too much lax coming out on your thread, you tighten these up. They got little rubbers inside. You tighten both of them up and that'll wipe it off as it comes through. You won't have as much.
How do you know if you have too much or not?
You'll see it. Well, tell you the truth, a lot of people, they don't even put lax on their bobbins. You know, they only use it up on the top. Now, I always put it in here, one of the holes, and start it a little bit. And like I said, you just want a nice smooth pull off your bobbin. Now, you don't, in other words, you don't want it too tight, you don't want to wire it. And this here is your tension for your bobbin. Good. That's pretty good. A slight drag is good enough. Same as the tension up on top. You wind it up a little and get it started.
How you feeding it from the top?
Huh? Yeah, over the top.
Over the top.
Loose, drop it in. Turn the machine. Your bobbin, you don't want to go any further than that, because if you do, what's going to happen when you put it in, you're going to find that your thread will be rolling off the sides. You don't want that to happen. Okay? Still, like I said, you got a nice smooth pull up. I'm not, getting hard spots and stuff like that, because if you get hard spots, you might have one stitch too tight, another one loose, like that. That's depending on how it is when you get to it. Because then the thread has to pull it out too hard, okay? Then your bobbin is set. Okay. Now, do you have any questions? Just learn the machine. It's that simple. in the military time. They can't tell. Right?
Okay, now tell us what you're going to tell us.
All right. Whenever you, well, let me start from the beginning.
You punch the first hole.
Yeah, you got to make that
You
first
want another
hole.
piece of that?
Oh, this is good. All right. Whenever you start, you always let this top thread drag from your hand on the first stitch. Okay? If you don't, you'll have a loose stitch, the first stitch. Okay? Now the bottom thread is really not too important. Some people hook it in there like that. You see, and they just hold the top thread, and eventually it'll pull itself out. You know, you don't put it in like too hard. You just put it like right there. All right. Now you let that first. You pull out some so it can pull out your hand. All right. You bring your oil down. Needle up. You make that first. You make a second one, and you can let it go. Okay. Now you'll see it'll come out by itself. It should anyway. Yeah. Right. Came out now. You don't push your work, you don't pull on your work, you just guide it. Okay, it'll feed itself. You just guide it. If you pull on it, you're gonna get short stitches. You see? If you push on it, you're gonna get uneven stitches. Okay? Now, and the same from pulling. Whenever you wanna turn, you wanna make like a 90 degree or something like that. Whenever you turn, your needle's up and your foot is lifted. You turn on the needle. Once it's up and lifted, you can turn any way you want. You see? Mm-hmm. Like that. Now what I do? I twist it over myself. All right, now. Still needs a little bit fine-tuning. All right, now, at the end of your work, you don't want to leave a hole. Okay, like if you sew up here, go all the way around, you want to stop. You don't want to leave an extra hole at the end because it's going to look good, right? When you're on the edge, all right? Now you say this is going to be your last stitch. Okay, so you catch your stitch, you know. Well, you can set this machine where it'll stop right at that stitch now, just by this break right here. See?
Is this screw?
No, it's a screw right directly underneath it. Right up here. You can tighten it up. You tighten it up when your foot is off. So when you step down, it'll go. As soon as you get off, it'll jam up against the wheel and stop it.
So every stitch will stop.
It'll stop wherever you want it, all right? Now, say this is your last stitch. Okay? You make the stitch. Right? And watch your awl. Your awl comes down just before it starts to go into the work. Okay? You don't let it touch the work. Now, if you'll take notice, over here, the stitch is made from the top, but it's not made in the bottom. You still got half of it caught. So what you do, so you don't leave that hole, you lift your foot a little, pull your work off to the side, you let your awl come in, let it clear the top of your foot. When it clears the top of your foot, you know you're free, you back off and you pull your work out. Just like that.
Say it one more, just say it one more time. Okay. You don't have to do it, just say it, maybe. Just to make sure.
Well, I'll do it.
Okay, one more time. That's a problem we've had in our business, leaving extra hose. I'm sure they don't want extra hose and weightlifting belts.
No. Well, really nobody likes that, you know?
One more time.
A lot of guys in the harness business, they talking about, they don't even know it either. They say, well, they hide it by the buckle or hide it by here.
A lot of people get an extra piece of leather and put it on their neck that leather.
Okay, you're going to finish it here. This is going to be your last stitch.
Needles up.
Right, you got to make it. You make the stitch. Let your all come to the top of your work.
Top of the work.
Just barely before it touches. All right? Lift your foot and pull off to the side. Right? You pull off to the side, you keep coming forward with the machine.
Right.
Let it
release
come,
it.
Let it come
forward
down.
And back.
Now on this here, you watch the oil all the time. Let the oil clear the top of the foot. Once it clears the top of the foot, the stitch is made. You'll take notice it's gone from here. You just back
it's
off.
made from the bottom.
Right.
The bottom.
You back at the same time you're pulling your work out. if you're on a big piece, excuse me, if you're on a big piece of leather, all right. Say I was in the middle of a big piece of leather right now, right? I made my stitch, right?
Yeah.
Now I'm down across the top of the arc, all right? But I gotta have enough thread to pull that work off to the side, okay? So what I do is I grab right here, right where the thread is at. Pull my thread.
No,
Stop,
you got it.
pull off to the side. Come here.
Same thing, right?
Same thing. Pull it out.
Rub it out.
Now the thing about when it's in the bigger part of it is that when you pull that thread out and you pull it off to the side, once you take it out, you're gonna have to go back and pull that last stitch in. That's all.
Pull it from the top.
Yeah, you pull it from top and bottom.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pull it back
Cut it.
in. Now, another thing here, I'm gonna show you something here. I might not do it with this type of awl. All right? 1, 2, right? Back up. Now back tack.
Back down.
If I
Say
flip,
it again now.
the back tack you work. All right? Now it's kind of hard to do with a chisel point awl because of the fact that, oh, okay, now this is good. You see how it came out?
Mm-hmm.
But on a chisel point awl, if you want a back tack, what you got to do, all right, you start your work, right? You make 1, 2, right? I made too many, I think.
That's all.
All right, I'll make 3. All right?
Put y'all up.
And I just pull it back.
Start over.
One of the stitches.
1 stitch back.
1 or 2, depending on, what you want to do. All right? Now, all right, let me see how this came out. All right, actually, I went back too many stitches. When you can go back too many stitches, especially with a chisel point, you might tend to cut
Say
another
make
stitch.
2 stitches and back up 1 and
Right.
tack it.
Right. Let me show you. All right. 1, 2. All right.
You're leaving y'all right at the top of the work.
Yeah.
You're holding your thread too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, end it again. Not make a hole.
All right, let me take it to the side.
Okay. Okay, needle down.
All stuff on
All
the top
stops
of the
on
work.
top of the material, so needles down.
Yep.
Lift up, pull it out.
All
After
stay
you
at the top.
make these stitches. Right.
Okay. No wonder. That's the end of that. And you want me to do a song and dance?
1,000.
I wouldn't even be satisfied if she was right.
Focus to the flow. How far should you like 16?
Well, you just let it where it drags underneath, you know? I know why I was jumping around. Then what you want to do, then you probably might want to use 2 thicknesses of leather right now. Because see how far it's away from the plate? Do a little song.
Or if you have real thick leather, you want to raise your foot up. Just like you said, you want it where your work of material will drag a little bit. You don't want to be able to pull it out real easy. Check the part. bottom? Take the bottom one, right? And then take the outside. Don't matter, you gotta hold this bottom through.
Lift the ball out. Back up. Lift the ball out. The bottom one is small. Lift it. The bottom is small.
Now, but all hanging material.
Yeah, but when you get on the thicknesses of this level,
Temperate how?
water,
What if he used a different style needle? Would that help? No? Different shape? Yeah, no.
What are you talking about, just wetting it, right?
yeah, that's it.
I don't know what that'll do to it.
Nothing.
Let it soften up.
Yeah,
Open up the pores.
I mean, it leaves water lines, though.
Well, I
Like
know.
we do that to bend the buckle around the end,
Uh-huh.
and it leaves a water line. We have a water line. Of course, now,
So you do
this
it
particular valve, the ones we're going to sew, we're talking about them using this hard leather.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
You leave a water line if you did sponge it on in water. Yeah, and then you can, if you want to sew it, you can sponge it on and it'll dry out even. Because dipping, what it does, it takes more. You got soft and hard places in leather, it'll take more and it won't back out. But if you sponge it,
But this is like saddle leather here.
yeah, if you sponge it, you'll be all right.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, that's what the saddle they use. That's why you couldn't go through the two. If you went through that, if you tempered those two, it'll go through.
Yeah.
But I still I want to get a little bit, still want to really fine tune this thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, you've got
I got this.
about 40 minutes. We're only 10 minutes, 12 minutes away from the airport. It's 10 after 6?
Yeah,
You're there about 5 to 6. You'll be in good shape. Because it only takes, you don't even have to check in there.
But I took my bag, and I think that would take
check
some time, right?
Not at Chattanooga Airport.
He's using New York, man.
Now, first of all, I'm going to stop at round 1.
Don't put that in there.
I see what's wrong with this foot. I know what the problem is now. Take notice, you see? Being that they ground off the bottom of this foot, I don't have the length that it should be. This here is dropped down too far. It should be like this. If you take notice of what's happening, watch when the foot, you'll see it move. Something, okay, you get the lift. Now you see the movement? That shouldn't happen.
Getting after grinding off the foot.
Because now this one here will lift that bar up some.
Should only buff the bottom, never grind.
Well,
So really it's an adjustment if you send him a good foot.
well, if I send him a good foot, he just put the foot on. That's all it is.
I mean, he's fine-tuned.
Yeah. Just did it. Just did it. Looks like everything is happening here today. You're learning, man.
Like you get around the bottom, the shuttle.
I had caught some thread in this. Lucky I got it out.
Well, it wouldn't come out once I did it.
Just caught him the shuttle or something, right? Problem is, I've got a machine, you know, we don't run these, we put a color on please, and just rub it on. Rub it on the top.
What I want you to do is, in this, well, sew as normal. I want to, because this foot is giving me a little trouble here, you know? But I want you to sew normally on this piece here. Get a little practice. Take pictures of yourself.
I already turned. I was on to cut off that leaving the hole.
Cut it off.
Right. Pretty much do it all.
Yes, sir.
For some reason I can't pull any slack out of it. It's tight. Could it be that tight? Is it causing resistance in it? Right. Take this down? Steve, you want to try some?
Yeah, that's probably go back with it, probably go out in.
Oh.
Just a little bit forward, not at the mouse.
I didn't like it that, like that.
How much clearance you got underneath that?
Yeah, I noticed that while ago.
It just hangs, it's just on the heel of it, isn't it?
Grinding it,
Mom's wanting to take me out.
What you need to take away.
That's what it was.
You done been took out, ain't you?
It was hitting the back of the foot.
It was coming down and it was springing and it was catching it as it was springing on. Right there. Right.
So you got the stitches starting hiding on the bottom. Something get short stick. The stitches starting to pull in the material on the bottom. What'd you say do for that?
It's starting to pull in. Too tight, then you gotta give yourself more play.
That's it. That's just
No, that's like more
something here.
Yeah, you're low.
It's pulling the stitch up the bottom. In other words, you got a good stitch on top, it's pulling up the bottom.
Yeah, too tight. Drop that down. If I left it out now, I would.
Yeah, proper foot, you could.
Yeah.
Then you want a longer stitch.
Of course, yeah, I know you want much longer than this.
Yeah, right.
See, because of the size ball that you have. Now, first of all, I tell you the truth. This is about how thick you're going to be showing. No thicker than this, or
It would be that thick on a double thick belt, yeah, at least.
but no thicker than this.
It could be.
Because I would tell you the truth. We'll use this one instead.
Is it bigger?
Small. One side is small, yeah.
One size smaller, all.
I got a 3 needle right now.
And you're using a 5 all?
5 all. See, 5 all is knowing that you want to go through 2 of these. You know, you want to punch it. But
It wouldn't be much thicker.
And now that with the smaller stitch, it should look different. You see how this stitch is consistent? Where it isn't here with the
Starting to
side?
hide itself. Is that the bigger all?
Well, it's too big because the stitch is smaller. You see, and being that you're smaller, all making such a big hole that when the thread is pulling, it's actually pulling in.
Pulling in more because it's got a bigger hole to pull in.
It's cut the leather up.
So you really shouldn't be over one size all bigger than the needle, right?
Right now, that's why I say 1 to 1.5 sizes depending on your thickness. Like the people who do those real heavy, thick harnesses like that, now they have to use a 5 all. You know, even if they're using like a 5 or a 6 foot thread, they don't have to use a 5 all. They might use a 2 needle.
We use a 5/4 with whistle harness.
And you use a 5 all, right?
Yeah.
Because it has to punch that hole.
That's hard level.
With you shouldn't need a 5. Not, not with this type of thickness. First of all, the hole is too big. Now, like that other belt that I told you the other guy was doing, if you have thick one, now we would give him a 5. Now, if you got anything, even a little bigger than this, I still would use a 4. It's better for your lot, I say. And it looks a little nice. You don't have such a big hole across the thing, And not only that, If you got a small thread, well, say a 5 oil, you would figure 6, maybe 7 or 8 cord, 7 cord you hide it. All right? Okay, this cord here would be good. 2 of those a lot. But when you got the 5 or 6 like that, nice and better. That's all it was. In the back.
Well, we may be calling you occasionally, like in the morning.
Every day.
What's your phone number? Let me put it in the little display thing there.
Put it on the wall, hang up a big sign, Tom. There you go.
Get in front of the camera now.
Yeah, you're ready.
Randall, call Tom.
Are we still on the first battery?
No, I'd change it.
Well, we better get you there.